What do you think about this season?
Well, I think a lot of things about this season. First thing is I think a lot of these guys, after such a long preseason, are excited to be out there, be back on the field, be back at Red Bull Arena. And then the second thing is that we have some unfinished business with the way that the season ended last year. We got so close to achieving our goal of being in MLS Cup final. Yeah, we fell a little bit short. So from our standpoint, we had a long winter to think that over. And we know that it's going to be a long road back and there's going to be unforeseeable circumstances. But we're going to lean heavily on who we are and who our identity is, and that's a team, that's a family. And one of our major strengths that can't be overlooked is our locker room. We have a bunch of good guys here, hardworking guys, honest guys, and it's those things, those character traits that I think are going to allow us to be successful again this year.
What do you think about the difference for the Red Bulls 2015 and 2016?
We have a lot of guys from last year, so that continuity is going to be there, and I think that's going to be a strength for us. It's going to be something that we're going to be able to rely on. Experience is something that we may not had a lot last year across the board, but with that season now in the books, we can lean on that experience when things get tough, understanding that there's going to be a certain mentality that we need to develop, a championship mentality. And I think not only with the leadership that we have, but the coaching, that's something that's possible. And I'm really optimistic about not only developing that, but using that to be a formidable force going into the season and hopefully deep into the playoffs.
It's very important open the season at the home, no?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think we're just anxious to start the season. Obviously, the friendly confines of Red Bull Arena is going to make it that much more special. Being in front of our fans, who I know have had a long winter, waiting for us to get back on the field. So from that standpoint, it's going to be great, and we look forward to it.
Thank you, Luis.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks. See you for
Hey, no?
Take care.
Hi, Luis. I would like to ask you about the chip on the shoulder mentality. Does that still work this year?
To an extent, I think what's happened is it will evolve into something bigger. We want to maintain that mentality because that's going to allow us to remember that we have to fight for every single inch, and no one's just going to give us something. But there's also a target on our back now that we were the regular season champion. Having that piece of silverware being the supporter shield, we're not necessarily going to have this narrow mind or perspective of we need to defend that, because not only do we want to defend that, but we also want to win more. Whether that's U.S. Open Cup, MLS Cup, but this year we're also involved in CONCACAF Champions League. So there are going to be a lot of games to be played, a lot of opportunities for guys to show themselves and represent the organization. But more than anything, that's more opportunities for us to show who we are as an organization, as a team, and that we want to win as much silverware as possible.
Last year you told me that you were very excited about the CONCACAF Champions League. How do you feel about the American teams performing the way they are doing right now?
It's been a tough go, whether you look at the results from last night or the previous week, and of course there's 2 more games tonight. But whether it's the scheduling, whether it's where it is in preseason, I could definitely understand where they're coming from. I mean, it's tough when those teams are in mid-season form and we're not. We're trying to get there and you're trying to rush it, and then of course in the CBA there's a limit to when the teams can start. So hopefully there's some reform in that standpoint, so it's a level playing field, because at the end of the day, naturally you want to have the best teams in CONCACAF being represented, but I also think you want to see the best competition and you want to see the best quality of games. And in order for that to happen, there has to be a change in the scheduling. No problem.
Just to continue off that, if MLS teams don't win it this year, does the thought of we could be the first one to do it in a modern format?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course I want those teams to do well, but if it doesn't work out this year, then I absolutely want this organization to not only advance to the knockout stage, to not only get to the final, but to win this thing. And if that means that we're the first MLS team to ever do it, great. That's fine. But our mentality going into this year is to win a lot, win often, and win as many games as possible, win as many trophies as possible. So whether we're talking about the U.S. Open Cup, CCL, regular season, or in the playoffs, this is the type of mentality that we're looking to form. And I'm confident, looking at the characters, looking at the leadership in this locker room, that it's something that inevitably will happen.
How you doing?
What's up, man? How are you doing?
Okay. got a new partnership playing in front of you at center back, Gideon and Ronald, and you could appreciate this and notice this better than anyone. How has the partnership developed and grown in this short period of time?
It's a work in progress, but there's a lot of optimism in what we've seen so far. We knew that coming in that Gideon's a guy that likes the ball at his feet and he plays quite well. He's very athletic. So from our understanding is how can we get him on the same page as everyone else? Because the tactics are, in its own sense, a little complicated. There's a lot of trust involved in the way that we play, and he has to understand that he can trust the guys next to him. He can trust the guys in front of him, the guys behind him. And that even if things fall apart, there's still going to be someone there covering your back. And that also on the flip side, he's going to be that to a lot of guys in a lot of situations.
Last year, I don't know how many countless combinations you had in the back there. How did you
Just last year?
I'm just trying to use recent history.
Okay.
Because I've forgotten about 2014 already. But even adding other years, how do you cope with new players in front of you constantly on defense? Getting to know or reestablish their habits in your mind.
The rapport is important. The chemistry is important. But a lot of that's on the coaching staff. We spend a lot of time in the classroom, probably more than most organizations in the league. And sure, sometimes it can be a drag, but we also understand the importance of it. And that importance was shown in direct form last year with some of our results. So when you have new players, not just Gideon, but when you have young players, homegrowns, rookies, guys that get drafted, or even new acquisitions, they have to understand that we're going to be in there a lot, but it's for our benefit. And when everyone buys in, which will happen because this is the culture of the organization, we know that not only are we going to be stronger, but we'll continue to be that force that we were last year. So we'll continue off of that, but it's a process. It's not something that we absolutely believe on March 6th will be a finished product. And if we're a finished product, I think there's cause for concern. But our ceiling's very high, and I know that when we do finally hit our stride, when we finally get on the same page, we're going to be a force.
How is life different for the team this year? We all remember what happened last year, the soreness, the problems in the offseason. This year, for lack of better words, you're just like another team. You won the Supporter Shield.
Yeah, it was a lot more peaceful this offseason. Huh? It wasn't quite as exciting. But nonetheless, within the coaching staff, within the leadership, and something that we spoke about at length today is how can we maintain that same sort of hunger, take it to the next level while maintaining a certain humility, understanding that we can't become complacent, we can't expect that things are just going to be given to us. But if we can think about where we're headed, what we want to be, and also of each other, taking care of each other, I think we're heading in the right direction. And I know that that's the direction that we want to go, and that we have the personnel to be ahead in that trajectory. So there's a lot of optimism going into the season, and sure, it wasn't as tumultuous and there wasn't all sorts of outrage, but in the same sense, we can't just think, okay, now that isn't there holding us accountable, we have to hold ourselves accountable to a higher standard. The Supporter Shield is going to hold us accountable. The amount of records we set last year is going to hold us accountable. And the fact that we still want to be MLS Cup champion, that's going to continue to push us, and I think from that's where our hunger is rooted.
And for you, you're closer now personally with the national team, and you have your own individual ambitions. Where do you put that into your thinking for 2016?
I don't think there's too much change in the way I approach my game every single day. I know that it's a privilege to be a part of this organization. I'm very grateful for it. So every single day I ask myself two things. Did I do everything I could as a player, and did I do everything as I could as a teammate? And I feel like if I continue to ask those questions, then it's part of the process. Getting called into national, that's a byproduct of the process. So I'm not going to deviate in any way. I'm not going to add an extra layer of stress to be something that I'm not. I'm just going to continue to do those things, and it's worked out so far. And so from that standpoint, my approach with Red Bull is to help this organization win a championship. And if the byproduct is I get called into the national team, awesome. That's going to be an incredible opportunity as well. But more than anything, I'm just grateful to be a part of this team, part of this organization, and we're really excited about what this year has to bring. Yeah, no problem.
Individually, you said you won the goalie of the year, obviously, and you said you thought you had a better year the year before. Like, we don't see that, obviously, so you playing very well. What do you look to improve on? Are you also going to improve individual facets of your game?
Absolutely. I mean, if I'm not trying to improve, then I'm already declining, right? I mean, okay, I'm 31 years old. Some would say maybe I'm on the wrong side of 30, but I'm also in a position that's special in the sense that goalkeepers usually hit their stride right around this time. So from that standpoint, I know that my approach has to be even more professional, even more detailed, because from an age standpoint, yeah, there may be some deterioration. But if I can counter that with the right sort of training, the right sort of recovery, the way I eat, the way I sleep, not only is that going to benefit myself and where I'm going, what I'm trying to achieve, but it's going to benefit the team. At the end of the day, each and every person has to hold themselves accountable. And if they're not improving in some way, then they're declining. And I think each and every player here is committed to that sense of daily improvement.
Last year, you more or less had to break in a rookie center back. He went on to great things. Now you have another new center back coming in. What's that? It's a continual process of just getting used to different players, and how do you go about that?
Well, first things first, congratulations to Matt. He really was a huge part of what we were doing last year, and we all saw that it was inevitable that he was going to leave. His ceiling as a player, as a center back, is so high. And I think for the next decade and maybe more, not only is he going to be leading clubs, but he's going to be leading the U.S. national team. So for us to be able to witness that, to be a part of that, is pretty awesome. And I know that he's going to be on to big things, and hopefully he can crack that lineup pretty soon. But with that being said, transitioning to Gideon, it's not just Gideon. We drafted Zach Carroll, we drafted Justin Blue. We have homegrowns that are coming into the process. Our tactics can be a little daunting, and the way we play can be a little intimidating. But if Jesse didn't think they had the quality to be a part of it, they wouldn't be here. So from that standpoint, there's no doubt that they're going to be able to not only pick up the slack, but excel. And I fully believe and am optimistic that once they understand the way we play and they trust the tactics, it will be just like last year. If anything, we'll be taking a step closer to our ultimate goal of winning MLS Cup.